All right, here we have a partial worksheet of minion mowing showing the last 6 columns, the adjusted trial balance, the income statement columns, and the balance sheet columns. And we're going to actually complete the financial statements off of this worksheet. Now, you do not have to have a worksheet, and if you didn't have the worksheet, you could still complete the financial statements from the adjusted trial balance columns. Okay, one of the big keys to doing successful financial statements is to know what accounts go on what financial statements. So as we talked about with the worksheet, the income statement is all about, did management attain profitability for the business? That means, did they sell more stuff than what they used and they had expenses? Were their revenues more than their expenses? If that's the case, then they have net profit or net income. If it's not the case, they'll have a net loss for that period. If they have too many net losses, then either if it's their own company, they'll go under, or if it's not their company, they'll get fired. So this is the main statement that's going to be showing those kinds of things. Only revenues and expenses go on the income statement. The balance sheet shows whether we balance, whether A equals L plus E. So it has the assets, the liabilities, and the owner's equity. However, it has the ending capital, not the capital that's on the adjusted trial balance or the worksheet for the balance sheet. That's something we have to do the statement of owner's equity to get the ending balance for the balance sheet. So I do the income statement first, I do the statement of owner's equity second to get the ending capital, then finally I do the balance sheet. Okay. Let's start with the income statement. I have set up a little template here so that it wouldn't take as long to get through this video. Notice that the income statement is first, then the statement of owner's equity, and over to the right I have the balance sheet. Notice that each one has a heading. On any kind of exam, heading is 3 out of 10 points. You really need to be in the habit of putting a heading on everything, of what this is, who it's for, what the date it encompasses. Now, income statements and the statement of owner's equity have dates that show how long was the period, because the interested user needs to know this amount of sales is from what? A week, a month, a year? Okay, so we have to say that for, in this case, for the month ended May 31st. Okay, for the month ended. So our heading has the name of the company, and then what is it, and then the range of dates. Now for a balance sheet, it's more like a trial balance. It says this is the particular balance of these accounts on this particular day. They were different yesterday, and they're going to be different tomorrow. This is this day's balances. And so you can say as of, then the date, or you can just have the date. And that's acceptable for the balance sheet. You don't say for the month ended. We're not looking at the change in these assets over the period of month. We're just looking at the balance at the close of business on that particular day. Okay, so for our income statement, again, we're doing revenues and expenses. Now, we learned in Accounting 101 at the end of it, and also in Accounting 102, about a multiple step income statement that a merchandiser or manufacturers would use that has a cost of goods sold part in the revenues, then operating expenses, then other revenues and expenses at the bottom. this is just a single step income statement that might often be used for a service industry. Okay, and so we're going to list all the revenues. We only have one revenue, and that is mowing fees earned. Okay, we're going to have two columns. We're going to have a detail column and a summary column. Since there's only one number, we're going to use the summary column, and that is, we're going to take this number straight. We're going to use these income statement columns off the worksheet since we have a worksheet. If you don't have one, you have to take it off of the adjusted trial balance. But here, the income statement columns make it very easy. We're only going to use those numbers, no numbers from any other stuff, okay? So the mowing fees earned was $14.80, and there's only one revenue account. So now we're going to list the expenses. We have rent expense, and telephone, oopsie. Supplies, expense, and depreciation expense. Okay, so there's our expenses listed. Now, since there's more than one, we're going to use the detail column. So we're going to take, again, we're taking the numbers straight off the income statement columns. You are not going way back to the original trial balance column, which some people do. You have to realize that it's the adjusted final numbers that are either in the adjusted trial balance or the income statement columns that we have to use. Okay, and all right. So we now have those listed in the detail column. We need to total those up. The total is going to go into the summary column. So I add those up, and they total up to 380. Okay, I want to underline that, so you can go into this little symbol here, which shows borders. And we're going to have a bottom border. And we go down to where net income. You have to know that it's revenues minus expenses. Okay, not revenues plus expenses. Revenues minus expenses. What is left over? Okay, if it's a positive number, it's net income. If it's a negative number, it's a net loss. In this case, 1480 is more than 380, and so we do have a positive number, 1100, and that is net income. Okay, again, I'm going to go up into my borders. This time I'm going to put a bottom double border. Okay, now we also need, oops, here under this 10, I also need a single border. There we go. Okay, now we also need dollar signs. Dollar signs goes on the first number of a column. So this 1480. And this 200. Of course, you can use, there's dollar signs you can use if you would put these in as numbers, which you can do, as opposed to I put the dash in, which made it different. Now, because I should line them up. All right, also my grand total, which is my net income, also needs to have a dollar sign on it. Okay, so we now have a completed income statement, and we can see that the net income that's on my income statement matches the 1100 net income on my worksheet. If yours doesn't, then you did something wrong. Okay, you need to fix it. It needs to match. You've got a check figure, so make sure it does. Now, if you had done this without a worksheet, if you just use the adjusted trial balance, then you don't have a check figure, but it's all right. You can still double check that you included all the expenses and that you added everything and subtracted everything correctly. All right, the statement of owner's equity, we start out with the beginning capital. Now, the beginning capital is what was the balance of the capital account at the very first day of this month. So on May 1st, what was the capital balance? Well, this is a new company, so the capital balance was 0. Okay, now, the owner invested $5,000, so that's the owner investment, and that increases the owner's equity, which is the capital account. We also have net income, where the business increased owner's equity, and our net income, of course, is the 1100. And then we need to subtract the stuff that decreases owner's equity, which is owner's withdrawal. And that is $100. That's up here. Now notice that I have to subtract the owner withdrawal because it decreases owner's equity. Okay, so now, also notice I didn't, this 5,000 that's on here, I didn't use that as beginning capital. The 5,000 equals whatever beginning capital plus whatever was owner investment. If there was already $1,000 in beginning capital and 4,000 that had been added during the month, this would still say 5,000. But you have to know, well, how much was beginning and how much was owner investment during this period. In real life, you could look at the general ledger and see that easily. In this case, I have to tell you, of course, in this particular situation, you knew that the company just started, so their beginning capital was 0, and the owner investment was 5,000. Now, so to get the ending capital, we start with the beginning. We add the two things that we're supposed to add, the 5,000 and the 1,100, and we subtract the thing that we're supposed to subtract, which is the owner withdrawals. And so we have 6,100 we're adding, and 100 we're subtracting, and so that's going to be 6,000 is our ending capital. Okay, now here I need to put a dollar sign. And the 6,000 needs a dollar sign. I need a border there. I need a double border under the 6,000. Okay. Okay, so this is my statement of owner's equity and my